Hello, Munavar sir.
Hi.
Welcome to this podcast. We're going to be having a very small chat about how you, being you, the one of the biggest stalwarts of the industry, having worked with so many companies, and then these are the students still trying to understand how to even get into those companies. And you've headed companies being Samsung, Oppo, uh, HCL,
Honeywell.
Honeywell. I'm so sorry. Oppo, Samsung, Honeywell Innovation. So these are huge names in the industry who have been shaping the future of tech right now. And when we look at it initially 15 years ago, the landscape was very different when considering right now. In the last 10 years, it has changed radically.
Right.
So from a UX being a usability tool initially to being at the forefront of anything digital, how has it evolved according to you? And how have you, in your experience, in your journey, navigated through this changing landscape over the years?
So, definitely, I would like to share certain things which I believe. To take a reference, I can take a reference of mobile technology. So, when I was studying my design in 2006 to 8, so the Android was very new. So, from that moment, in fact, that time, Google purchased the Android. From that time to this, it's a whole new journey from the UX perspective.
Agreed.
So if you can relate what was the earlier phone, it was fully functional. The phone should able to call.
Yes.
Even that time people were struggling to save the contact. So that time Nokia introduced after every call. So they used to ask whether you want to save this number,
Unknown number.
unknown number. If yes, it will save.
My first one itself was.
Yeah, and many people used to carry the diary in their pocket. They are taking that diary, reading the number and dialing in a phone. That was the thing. So it was a totally functional thing. So it was, if there's a technology, it was a very advanced technology, of course. So that time the landscape was like, hey, give me my function.
Yes.
And I will pay the money for that function. Calling or messaging is the function. But nowadays, nobody is actually realizing a phone is for call. Phone is for everything. So if you see the changes now, the functionality is converted into experience.
Yes.
So why I am carrying the phone? Because of multiple. So I would say, case usability was there, only the things where changes or the challenges of the usability is different.
Yep.
Earlier, the usability was moreover related to the hands-on kind of thing, or maybe the some usage in the functionality. Now the usability is related to your mental model. It's a cognition. All these things together is making a new approach, and at the end, you need to deliver the experience. Which functionality is there. Functionality is becoming a very fundamental and basic.
Exactly. It has become the cornerstone. If function is not there, we are not going to look at it.
Yeah.
But how exactly are we building on? Because functionality is a very binary thing. Either it is there, either it is not there. Experience is very gray area. It is very variable. How are we exploring that?
Yeah. So now we have a good access to data. For example, if I am designing certain thing, so very soon I will come to know the behavior of the product as well as my user. So we are taking those insights and converting into the new experience, which is becoming a new benchmark at all. So that way we are graduating from one level of experience to the another, and the competitive edge is creating, especially if I refer to the technology used in mobile. We cannot follow the trends in mobile industry, because trend means somebody thought, somebody built, and somebody put in the market, and it's everywhere. It means I cannot do that.
Yes.
So it's a fundamentally on
It
verge of rapidness as well.
disrupts on a very regular basis. The rate of disruption in the mobile tech has been the highest rate, because every 2 years, every 1.5 years, the rate of disruption is.
That's true.
And from disruption, the next question of mine arises. The biggest disruption in the last 3 years has been the advent of AI. The day in November 2021 when ChatGPT released the first LLM ever to exist over here for mass public usage, it changed the game. It changed the game for everyone. Anyone and everyone who's using technology at the slightest has been impacted by it. So, in this age of rapid AI intervention and automation, how does a designer navigate through this too?
This is the discussion happening in all such circles, creative circle. Definitely, we need to respect the new technology and we need to adopt this technology. But why not to create an edge over that? For example, AI is still a very immature technology.
Yes.
Because we found a very good use case as a chat GPT or as a chat or as a text input and getting the output, very surprising output. That's why the use case is very perfect, but technology is still not matured enough.
It's in a very nascent state. 3-year-old technology, how refined can it be?
But at the same time, can we say that creativity is the new thing?
Agree.
Creativity is actually a very advanced thing because it's getting evolved and evolved and evolved.
Agree.
So why not to take a leverage of that creativity, human creativities? We are developing since centuries and ages. So basically, this technology is evolved and the new technology is immature. Why not to make a combination of these two things? Because creativity, we never think as a technology.
Yes.
We think very differently when it's come to the creativity. So creativity is a bigger, evolved, very proven technology we have, and we have to utilize and plug in with the AI. That kind of notion will take the age, will give of age over AI, and respectfully AI will help.
Yes. So basically, pardon the line. Artificial intelligence is still artificial.
Yeah.
Creativity is still the natural.
We are the original thing as well.
Exactly. We are still the original.
Yeah.
Now, taking this into the realm of education. Now you have been a part of the education realm and you have been contributing to the education realm for a long time. Even when you were working on those companies, you were, connected with a lot of education institutes, imparting knowledge as visiting or as mentor to to some industries or colleges, institute. So you have a much holistic view. We are very young. We are very young designers. We are very young professors in this field. But you have a huge level of experience in both the fields as of now. From your perspective, what exactly are the things in today's design education landscape which can evolve and take the Indian landscape to a higher level? Because right now, still again, similar to AI, Indian design language field is still growing. And considering that in the growing stage of Indian design phase, the education system is also in a very nascent stage. Very recently, till 2 years ago, we did not have any design curriculum from the guideline from the government, and the government has now created guidelines. So how does a student who's getting into design navigate through the institutional educational landscape over here?
Great. So if we talk about the educational landscape, especially in India, so as an education segment, it's emerging.
Yes.
Earlier there were very few designers, especially, and they need to pivot a little to cater the demand of the industry. But nowadays, many disciplines, many people are interested, and many use cases where you fit yourself. For example, today we talked about the pasta design.
Yes.
So pasta is like you can become a pasta designer. That's the new discipline. Such kind of discipline are emerging out. So two things we need to note about this new educational sector in design is definitely information is there, but you need not to deliver the information.
Agree.
You need to create a platform to give the exposure to that information.
Right. Very, very important word,
Yeah.
exposure.
And how you are creating that platform where you are connecting their creativity, their smartness with the real world examples. So I think these two things will be an important approach for every student who are pursuing their design as a career, who are studying design as a career.
It makes a lot more sense right now. It actually tells us where what the one specific area probably a designer might need to develop on in a longer term also, because it is again still in a evolutionary phase we are in. So now one of the most important asked questions to UX designer everywhere, because again UX is a very factual research based field. How does a person balance the data, the research, the analytical approach by UX designer with the emotional intelligence brought in? Because again, emotional intelligence is a very, very innately human thing. How do you balance that in a particular form of design?
Okay. So balancing UX, data, and how to convert those things into a tangible solution, I would say the reference will be the insight, the number of insight. So this is at the end you are creating experience for the end customer or end user. So are you well connected with the insights or not? Or how many insight? It's not the amount of data. Of course it will have. But you need to convert that data, that observation, that information into insight. So the more the insight you have, more you are connected with the user, and then you are creating the experiences with those users. So I believe put insight, number of insight, quality of insight, level of insight in a central part, connect with the customer and the user and deliver based on those insights, or taking your data through those insights, deliver your product and services.
Makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. It gives such a streamlined view onto how you balance these things out. Now, one final thing I would want to ask is that every designer has their own form, their expression, because humans being innately unique to themselves, their design language also it gets influenced because of their nature. How does today's student who in this day and age, because so much of data being thrown at them through different modes, they are living in the golden age of information, and teachers giving them information, social media, internet research giving them so much information. How does a student create their own style?
That's a good question. So I would suggest student community especially, do not try to create your signature design. Do not make your favorite font, favorite color, favorite way of doing, because you are not doing for yourself. You are doing for the user who don't understand all this thing. So I would suggest, instead of creating your own signature style, just make yourself a neutral person. And being neutral person, try to make your new way of emotional connect with your user, and the moment or the way you create or you establish the emotional connect with the user, that is your style.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah. So it should not be a materialistic style. My style, my font, my color, my process, my signature design. Don't do that. For example, in few upcoming years, what is the interface? What will be the interface of mobile? Basically, the interface of mobile will disappear in other device.
Agreed.
It can be on a wall, it can be in your laptop, it can be in your kitchen, it can be on your TV. So there's no signature.
Now we are moving away from touchscreens to audios also. Rabbit R1 and the Huawei clip. They've changed how the landscape is changing.
Yeah.
They've not radically changed, but they've started the motion towards that. Makes a lot more sense.
If you create your own style or signature design for the mobile, very soon this form factor will disappear.
So basically, data-driven, user-oriented approach is a lot more better. Yes. Great. That was lovely. This conversation for me personally was also so insightful. Thank you so much for having this talk with us.
Thank you so much. for inviting on this talk. That was a really
The pleasure is all ours.
a very connecting thought with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.